She still laughs at your jokes. She still kisses you goodnight. But something's different, and you can feel it before you can name it. The eye contact is shorter. The texts are slower. The way she used to lean into you on the couch. She doesn't do that anymore. And you're lying awake wondering, is this it? Is this how it fades? Here's what I need you to hear before anything else. What you're noticing is real, it's measurable, and this is the important part. It is very often reversible, not with a trick, not with games, but with a science-backed process that couples researchers have studied for decades. Stay with me for the next 20-some minutes because I'm going to walk you through exactly what's happening in her brain and in your relationship, and exactly what to do about it, starting today. I'm Dr. Lila Romano. I'm a board-certified urologist, and for years my work has sat at the intersection of physical health and intimate relationships, because the two are far more connected than most people realize. I've spent my career studying arousal, attraction, and the biology of desire, and I've watched the same pattern play out in relationship after relationship. Attraction doesn't usually die suddenly. It cools gradually, quietly, while both people tell themselves everything is fine. Today, I want to give you something practical, not vague relationship advice, an actual framework grounded in real research from relationship science, attachment theory, and neurochemistry that you can start using in the next 48 hours. If you're in a relationship where the spark feels like it's dimming, this video is for you. And if things are great right now, save this video anyway, because every long relationship goes through this phase at least once. The problem: why attraction cools. Let's start with the honest science, because I think couples do better when they understand the why instead of just panicking at the symptoms. Early attraction is driven heavily by novelty. When you meet someone new, your brain floods with dopamine, the same neurochemical involved in reward and motivation. Researchers who study the neuroscience of romantic love, including work out of Rutgers University, have shown that early-stage romantic attraction activates brain regions associated with reward and craving, very similar to the patterns seen with other powerfully motivating experiences. That's why the beginning of a relationship feels almost addictive. Everything she does feels fascinating because your brain is still learning her. But dopamine responds to novelty, and novelty, by definition, doesn't last. Over months and years, predictability sets in. You know what she's going to order at dinner. She knows exactly how you'll react to bad news. This isn't failure, it's biology. The problem isn't that predictability exists. The problem is what most couples let predictability turn into: routine without romance, familiarity without effort, closeness without curiosity. On top of the neurochemistry, there's a second layer: emotional attunement. Dr. John Gottman, one of the most cited relationship researchers in the world, has spent decades studying what separates couples who stay deeply connected from couples who drift apart. His research points to something simple but powerful. Attraction and desire are protected by ongoing emotional responsiveness, small, everyday moments where partners notice each other, turn toward each other, and feel seen. When those moments disappear, distance grows quietly, long before anyone says a word about it. So when a woman's attraction starts to cool, it's almost never really about a spark disappearing at random. It's usually one or both of these two things. The novelty and excitement circuitry has gone quiet because nothing new is happening between you, or the emotional attunement has eroded because daily life has crowded out real connection. Good news: both of these are things you can directly influence. There's a third piece worth naming because I see couples miss it constantly. The psychology of desire is different for men and women on average, and understanding that difference changes everything about how you approach a reset. Clinical research from sex therapists like Dr. Rosemary Basson has described female desire as often being more responsive than spontaneous, meaning desire frequently follows connection and context rather than appearing out of nowhere. In practice, that means waiting around for her to spontaneously feel it. The way she did at the start of the relationship often sets you up for disappointment, because that's not usually how sustained desire works in a long-term relationship. Desire responds to context, to feeling emotionally safe, to feeling desired as a person and not just physically wanted, to feeling like there's still mystery left to discover. When couples understand this, they stop chasing a feeling and start building the conditions that feeling grows out of. I also want you to understand what stress does to this picture, because it's often the silent variable nobody accounts for. Chronic stress elevates cortisol, and elevated cortisol is well documented to interfere with the same reward and motivation pathways that drive attraction and desire. If she's overwhelmed at work, exhausted from parenting, or carrying invisible mental load around the household, her nervous system may simply not have the bandwidth to access desire, no matter how much she loves you. This isn't about blame. It's about recognizing that a reset isn't just romantic. Sometimes it's physiological. And reducing her stress load is one of the most romantic things you can actually do. The first 24 hours, break the pattern, don't perform. Here's where most men go wrong, and I want to save you from this mistake immediately. When men sense attraction cooling, the instinct is often to perform. Buy a bigger bouquet, plan a lavish date, say something dramatic, and sometimes that helps in the moment. But research on relationship repair suggests grand gestures without follow-through often backfire because they read as inconsistent with the everyday pattern she's actually responding to. What actually moves the needle in the first 24 hours is smaller and more disciplined. Interrupt the predictability without asking for anything in return. Practically, that means three things. First, change one routine today: where you eat, how you greet her when you walk in the door, what you talk about at dinner. Novelty doesn't require a grand vacation. It can be as simple as taking a different route on a walk together or trying a restaurant neither of you has been to. Even small sensory changes matter. Cooking a meal from a cuisine you've never tried, putting on music that isn't your usual background noise, sitting somewhere different in your own living room. The brain notices pattern breaks even when they're tiny, and each one is a small signal that says something is alive here again. Second, give her your full attention for one uninterrupted conversation, phone away, eye contact, genuine curiosity about her day, her thoughts, something she cares about. I mean this literally. Put the phone in another room. Studies on device presence during conversations have found that simply having a phone visible on the table, even face down, even off, measurably reduces the quality of connection people report feeling with each other. Your undivided attention has become rare in a way it never used to be, which paradoxically makes it more powerful than almost any gift you could buy her. Third, and this one surprises people, do not mention that anything feels off. Bringing up, "I feel like you've been distant" this early can put her on the defensive before you've had a chance to actually change anything. Let your behavior speak first. You're not hiding anything from her by staying quiet here. You're simply choosing to demonstrate change instead of announcing an intention to change, which research on behavior change consistently shows is more persuasive and more credible to the person watching it happen. Hours 24 to 36. Rebuild attunement. Now we move into what Gottman's research calls turning towards size, responding to your partner's small bids for connection instead of missing them or brushing them off. Most couples miss dozens of these bids a day without realizing it. She mentioned something funny that happened at work. You're on your phone and give a half-hearted That's a missed bid. Over months, missed bids accumulate into emotional distance, and emotional distance is one of the biggest predictors of cooling attraction. In this window, your job is simple but demanding. Notice her bids and turn toward every single one you can. When she starts a sentence, put down what you're doing. When she shares something small, ask a follow-up question instead of moving on. This isn't about theatrical romance. It's about proving in dozens of small moments that she has your attention when it matters. I also want you to do something specific here. Ask her one genuinely curious question you've never asked her before. Not, "How was your day?" Something real. What's something she's been thinking about lately that she hasn't told you? What does she actually want more of in her life right now? Is there something she used to love doing that's quietly disappeared from her life since you got busy together? Research on relationship satisfaction consistently shows that couples who maintain genuine curiosity about each other, even after years together, report significantly higher relationship and sexual satisfaction than couples who stop asking. Curiosity signals that you still see her as a full, evolving person, not a fixture in your life. Here's a concrete example of what this looks like in practice. Instead of the usual, how was work, try something like, what's something you've been proud of this week that you haven't told anyone? Watch what happens to her face. Most people brace for small talk and instead get a real question, and real questions get real answers, which is where actual intimacy lives. This single shift, repeated consistently, does more for long-term attraction than any grand romantic gesture you could plan for an anniversary. I also want to mention appreciation specifically, because Gottman's research found that couples with strong, lasting relationships maintain a high ratio of positive to negative interactions, roughly 5 positive interactions for every negative one during conflict, and an even higher ratio during ordinary daily life. That means genuine compliments, verbal appreciation, and noticing what she does right matter far more than most men assume. Not empty flattery, specific, true observations. I noticed how patient you were with your mom on that call lands completely differently than "you look nice today," because it tells her you're actually paying attention to who she is, not just how she looks. Hours 36 to 48, physical and emotional safety. Attraction cannot rebuild in an environment of tension, criticism, or defensiveness. Gottman's research identified specific communication patterns, he called them the Four Horsemen, that predict relationship breakdown: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. If any of these have crept into your daily interactions, even in small doses, they will actively work against everything else you're doing in this protocol. So in this final window, your task is to actively remove friction. That means catching yourself before a critical comment turns into a jab. It means responding to her frustration with curiosity instead of defensiveness, asking, "Help me understand what that felt like for you," instead of immediately explaining why you did what you did. And it means physical affection that asks for nothing: a hand on her back while she cooks, a hug that lasts a few seconds longer than usual, holding her hand while you walk, a kiss on the forehead before you leave the house. Non-sexual touch is one of the most underused tools in long-term relationships. It regulates the nervous system, lowers cortisol, and rebuilds a sense of safety that attraction actually depends on. Researchers who study attachment describe this as co-regulation, the process by which one nervous system helps calm another simply through consistent, safe physical presence. When couples lose this, they often unknowingly become sources of stress for each other instead of relief from it. And it's very hard to feel drawn toward a source of stress, no matter how much history and love you share. Rebuilding physical affection that has no destination, meaning it isn't a lead up to sex, it's simply connection for its own sake, is one of the fastest ways to signal safety to her nervous system. Ironically, taking the pressure off physical intimacy often brings desire back faster than pursuing it directly ever could. You cannot desire someone you don't feel safe with, and you cannot feel safe with someone who doesn't feel safe with you. Safety isn't the opposite of passion in long-term relationships. It's the foundation passion is built on top of. What to avoid during this process? Let me be direct about a few things that will undo your progress. Don't demand reassurance. Asking, "Do you still find me attractive?" repeatedly puts pressure on her and centers your anxiety instead of your connection. Don't compare your relationship to some idealized version you saw online. Comparison breeds resentment, not romance. And don't expect this to be linear. Attraction rebuilds in waves, not straight lines. You might have an incredible Tuesday and a flat Wednesday. That doesn't mean it's not working. It means you're human beings, not a formula. I also want to name something important. Sometimes cooling attraction isn't really about the relationship dynamics at all. It can be connected to stress, hormonal shifts, health issues, medication side effects, or life transitions she's going through, like postpartum recovery or perimenopause. These are real physiological factors, not character flaws or signs she's lost interest in you, and they deserve compassion rather than pressure. If you've genuinely put in consistent effort over weeks, not just days, and things still feel stuck, that's not a sign to try harder alone. It's a sign to have an honest conversation together and possibly loop in a couples therapist, or, if you suspect a medical component, her physician. There is zero shame in that. Some of the strongest couples I know have been through therapy together and came out the other side more connected than when they went in. Making it last beyond 48 hours. The 48-hour window isn't a magic trick that resets everything permanently. I want to be honest with you about that. Think of it as a reset button that interrupts a negative pattern and opens the door back to connection. What happens after that door opens is what actually matters. Long term, the couples who maintain strong attraction over years share a few consistent habits. They protect novelty deliberately, trying new things together instead of waiting for excitement to appear on its own. They keep turning toward each other's bids for connection, day after day, not just during a crisis. They maintain physical affection that isn't only about sex. And they keep asking each other real questions, staying curious about who their partner is becoming, because people change, and the partners who keep discovering each other stay attracted to each other. If you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Attraction isn't something that happens to you. It's something you build together, in small, consistent moments, over and over again. The couples who stay magnetic to each other after 10, 20, 30 years aren't lucky. They're intentional. They treat the relationship less like a finished house and more like a garden that needs ongoing attention. And they never fully outsource that responsibility to autopilot, no matter how busy life gets. And I want to gently push back on one more myth before we close this section. The idea that if you have to work at attraction, it wasn't real to begin with. That's one of the most damaging beliefs I hear from couples because it turns every natural dip into a crisis of doubt. Every long relationship has ebbs and flows. What separates the couples who make it from the couples who don't isn't the absence of cooling periods. It's what they do when they notice one. If this gave you a clearer picture of what's actually happening and what to do about it, hit that like button. It helps this information reach more couples who need it. Subscribe if you want more evidence-based content on relationships, intimacy, and connection, because I release new videos on exactly this every week, and I'd genuinely love to hear from you in the comments. What's one small habit that used to make your relationship feel close that's quietly disappeared? Naming it is often the first step to bringing it back. Here's what I want you to walk away with today. What you're feeling isn't imaginary, and it isn't a verdict on your relationship. It's information, a signal that your connection needs some deliberate attention, the same way your body sends you signals when something needs care. You caught it. That already puts you ahead of most people, because most people wait until distance turns into resentment before they act. Give yourself the next 48 hours. Break the predictable pattern. Turn toward her again and again. Rebuild safety before you chase spark. And then keep going, not because you're afraid of losing her, but because you genuinely want to keep discovering her. That's not just how you reset attraction. That's how you build a relationship that keeps getting stronger the longer you're in it. I'm Dr. Lila Romano. Take care of yourselves and take care of each other. I'll see you in the next video.